Hi guys, welcome to my art channel. For today's video I really fancy trying out my new Hannemuhle watercolour sketchbook for a change, so I thought I'd bring you along too to see if I can inspire you or give you a few fun ideas if you're thinking of starting a sketchbook or are stuck for ideas in your current one. I may even make this a regular feature on my channel, so if you like it be sure to let me know. I chose this sketchbook as it's suitable for painting with watercolour. The paper is natural white and features a fine grained structure on both front and back. It's also acid free and has a high longevity. This A5 hardback sketchbook contains 30 sheets of 200 GSM watercolour paper, and when you take the sleeve off you can see the cover has a bit of texture to it, which feels really good quality. There is also a piece of elastic around it to keep it all together. The paper also feels really nice quality, and there is even a bookmark to keep your place if you want to. Unfortunately, the pages don't stay flat when the book is open, so I'm just going to use some of these fold back clips to help. So what do you draw or paint in a sketchbook? Well, I love painting animals, but the beauty of a sketchbook is that you can personalise it to your tastes or needs. You can use it to jot down ideas, plan your colour palettes, or simply just to practice techniques or even to relax. No one has to see it if you don't want them to, so it's really yours to use as you wish. The inspiration for my painting today came from a trip to our local park, which gave me the idea to paint a mallard duck, which have those beautiful bright green feathers. And being that this is a sketchbook, I'm not going to be too worried about getting my sketch perfect, so I'm just going to freehand the duck outline using a regular HB pencil. All the materials I used today I will list in the description box if you want to go and check them out, and I'm also using a reference photo which I found on Pixabay to help me with proportions and colours. So I started my sketch on the right hand side of the sketchbook with the idea that I'd use the left hand page for swatching out my paints prior to painting. My aim for this sketchbook is not to spend hours and hours on each page, but instead use it as a place to relax and enjoy creating looser, less detailed pieces. I also want to develop my freehand sketching skills without the pressure that sometimes comes with using larger, more expensive sheets of paper. Sketchbooks don't have to be expensive and are available in all sorts of shapes and sizes, and come with a variety of different papers, so whatever medium you like to use, there's sure to be one out there for you. This sketchbook is a nice A5 size, which means it's easy to travel with, and although I'm only drawing on one side today, you can use both sides of the paper, so there is the flexibility to draw or paint across both pages if you want to draw something bigger. Once the rough outline sketch was done, I used my kneaded eraser to lift and lighten some of the graphite before adding paint. I then went back to my reference picture and took a closer look at the different colours of the duck's feathers and used the left hand page of the sketchbook to swatch some colour mixes out. This was also a good opportunity to see how the paint laid down on this paper and how it reacted to water. I like using the wet in wet technique and wanted to use it in this duck painting. The paper, though not as absorbent and resilient as cotton paper, did seem quite durable and nice to paint on. Now, something I really like about sketchbooks is the fact that they can tell a story. They don't just have to contain perfectly rendered pieces of artwork. They can show you the whole process, from doodled ideas to finished sketch. They can also contain scribbled notes and thoughts, rather like a diary in picture form, which is not only fun to look through, but shows your thought process and progress too. And it's never too late to start. You don't even need to have a lot of spare time. Whatever you can fit into your schedule will benefit you and your artwork, whether it's 10 minutes a day or 10 minutes a week. And it's a good habit that I want to try and get into, since practice makes progress, and it's fun too. So with the paint swatching done, it was time to start on the duck. I used a Copic multiliner to begin with, just to fill in the duck's eye as it was really small. Then I started with a fairly light wash of my green paint mix to block in a base layer for the feathers on the duck's head. Whilst this was wet, I also dropped in a few darker colours before moving on down the duck's neck. For this area, I decided to pre-wet the lower part of the neck and body before again adding a light base layer of browns. I also added darker brown onto the wet paper at the top of the duck's neck so it would blend and mix together on the paper. The duck's chest area had quite a mottled feather effect, so I wanted to build this up in layers, and in between layers I worked on a different area of the body whilst allowing the paper to dry. For the lower part of the body, I began again by adding a base layer which was a mixture of neutral tint with a touch of yellow ochre. For the duck's bill, I used cadmium yellow light, and whilst I was waiting for that to dry, I added a diluted layer of cadmium orange deep to the duck's legs. I then went back in with some yellow ochre to add a bit of shading and detail to the bill. For me, one of the aims of this sketchbook is not to get too bogged down with too many details, as that's something I struggle with, often spending hours and hours on one area. I'd like to be able to simplify reference pictures and be able to pick out the most important aspects of a drawing to give a realistic impression fairly quickly without it looking unfinished. I also like the idea of taking a sketchbook out and about with me and being able to sketch when inspiration hits. For me, it's important to be able to map out ideas, shapes and forms efficiently and accurately when I may not always have a lot of time. Being able to develop these skills while still capturing all the information you need in terms of values, depth and contrast is an important skill that will take practice, but as I always say, practice makes progress. But what if you have a sketchbook, you've made the time to sketch, but you're still stuck with what to draw? Where do you go for inspiration? Well, I'll tell you a few of the things I like to do. The first thing I do is flip through somewhere like Pinterest or Pixabay to see if I can get inspiration from others or from photo references. I might see a different art style or technique I'd like to try, or a different animal I haven't painted yet. I also get inspired by different colours or different mediums, so if you normally paint in watercolour, try colour pencil or graphite for example, as sometimes switching it up is all you need to get going again. Another thing I find helps is getting outside. Nature always inspires me, so you might see some flowers, trees, animals, or even buildings with interesting architecture. Get out of the house if you can and get a change of scenery. If all that fails, then how about changing the subject of your drawings? If you always paint animals, for example, try still life, botanical illustrations, fruit, portraits, or even abstract art. Try drawing from prompt lists on Pinterest or different art challenges like Mermaid or Inktober. And if you get a good idea, write it down. I have a notebook that I write ideas in, as it really helps to jog my memory if I ever get stuck. I don't know if any of that helps, but if anyone else has got any other good ideas for sketchbook art inspiration, then drop them in the comments box, as I'd love to hear them. I'd also love to know if there are any other animals I haven't drawn yet that you'd maybe like to see me paint in this sketchbook, as I'll add those to my list too. So back to the duck painting now, and I have to say I really enjoyed this one. Being smaller, it was a lot quicker to complete, and painting a bit looser was a lot of fun. I definitely felt less pressure to create a masterpiece, as I was painting in a sketchbook and not on a large piece of paper, and I was quite happy with how it turned out. I was a bit conscious of adding too many layers and potentially overworking the paper, but it held up well and I was able to get the rich greens and browns I was after without the paper buckling, bobbling or warping. I really liked the brown speckled effect for the feathers on the duck's chest and darkened up the lighter feathers underneath using a mixture of leftover colours on my palette. To finish off, I went back and added a few more details to the duck's bill as well as his eye, which helped give him that happy, almost smiley expression that I found so appealing from the reference photo. I also went in with a layer of indigo to hype up the colour and contrast on his head. Finally, it was time to add details to the duck's legs. I added a mixture of burnt sienna and sepia tones for the shadow areas under his body, as well as some more concentrated cadmium orange deep to the lighter, brighter areas. It was tempting to go in with a small detail brush at this point, but I quite liked that this whole sketch was painted using just this size 8 brush. So far as painting any background was concerned, I decided against anything too detailed and just loosely added in the suggestion of a few blades of grass under the duck's feet. And with that, this sketch was complete. I hope you liked how it turned out, and I really hope you enjoyed the video. Maybe you even got a few ideas for where to look for inspiration or what to draw in your own sketchbook. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and let me know in the comments any sketchbook ideas for future videos. Next week there will be a slight change to the video upload schedule, just to let you know, as I have something very exciting in the pipeline. So there will be a video on Tuesday as normal, but the Friday video is going to be on Thursday instead. So make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out. Thank you all so much for watching, take care, and see you all in the next video. Bye!